Okay, well, I'm going to show 3 films and do a short introduction to each. But basically, I think a lot of what I had to say has actually been covered this morning about my philosophy to access to archives. It's, I think, the same as what everyone else says, which isn't the same as what a lot of people think who aren't in this room. But basically, my access to archives has also been revolutionised just by broadband, which has got nothing to do with archives, but it's to do with the speed that you can get things from around the world. And I think that's a really important thing to this, is I've been making work for my adult life, but it was only in 2000 that I really got to do what I want to do. Because before that stage, I was relying on things on a local level and through the financial availability of things that are second-hand. And now the second-hand thing is basically what you can get as an archive, or what you can get with someone sharing something with you, or by being able to take something from a library, which isn't just your local library. So really, I think, it's the speed of access that has made it possible to get things. And actually, my work really started proper in about 2000, when I got broadband and found out about the Internet Archive and through Rick's films, and that revolutionised my work. And since then, thankfully, other people have started to see the sense in letting artists into their archives. Nowhere near enough people, and a lot of the problem with that isn't the willingness, it's through the lack of liaison between corporations and outside creatives. And that's the main problem you get from where, BFI, BBC, all kinds. It's like you need people like Paul Gerhardt to actually be the liaison or to liaise afterwards on your behalf. As an artist, you sometimes feel like there's no way in, even though you try, and you either get no reply, or they say no, or how much money have you got. Unfortunately, things don't work that way as an artist, and a lot of the time you do need some help. And all you're doing is publicising people in a really good way. And also, one last thing is archives aren't really about the past, they're about now. And it's about the way we look at lives now. And it's no different from any other kind of art, the way we look at things. Archives are just as relevant as any other way of sourcing things. And in fact, it's no more special than any way of, or less special than archiving from any palette. It's just a palette. And I agree with Craig Baldwin about the idea of it being folk art. I believe that it's a modern day folk art because the most potent medium we have is moving image and TV or found sounds and what's all around us, and we're just carrying on a tradition. It's no different, and it's funny, we're all talking about what's happened in the last 10 years when in fact it goes back further than that, and we're not separate to anything else. We just think that it's different, but it isn't different. So anyway, that's enough what I've got to say. I'm going to show 3 things. The first thing is called Story Without End, which was commissioned by Sonic Arts Network in London, who are now Sound and Music. This was used mainly using Rick's archives and some Internet Archive footage and footage from AV Geeks, who he's also Skip Elsheimer, who's also linked to the Internet Archiver. The Internet Archives. He digitises for Internet Archive, doesn't he? Yep, so this is Story Without End, and then I'll introduce the next thing. Okay.
The future can be found in many places. It can be seen reflected in the eyes of those who are privileged to look at it. It can be found in the shape and form and made from the metal and the wire, the time and the effort of those who are privileged to create it. This is a business that is always dealt in the future.
In my view of the future, the novelty will wear off. The instrument will grow light convenient and familiar to every hand. A common tool within the means of every factory, business, every home. And connected to a central switching office which can connect any two subscribers in a matter of seconds. And then I see its lines and poles marching thousands of miles. And then I see, perhaps in the next century, the tiniest, farthest hamlet woven into the wire fabric.
This array of impressive-looking equipment in the central office went into action to do just that. It's not enough for the equipment to remember, it's got to make a record as well. In the laboratories, the men who develop new equipment and the men who will have to build it are always at work, not only improving what has been developed, but creating new things as well. However, it's one thing for highly skilled scientists, technicians to develop our equipment in the laboratory, and quite another to mass produce it on a production line.
Number, please.
May I have long distance?
One moment, please. This is long distance.
I want to call Chicago. The number is Wabash, 2098.
Thank you. We will call you when ready with Chicago.
The long-distance operator passed the call on to a line operator who found an available line to Chicago.
Chicago. Wabash, 2098.
We've come a long ways because we wanted to come a long way. What's made it tough has been the complicated equipment necessary to give service. When we develop something new, it's a physical impossibility and financially impractical to rip out everything we have in service one day and replace it with all new equipment the next. The country's service can't be turned off. Wherever you go in the system, from the operators who take pride in the part they play in furnishing your service, to the construction people who see to it that tomorrow's telephone lines are put in today, you will find people building for the future. What will it be this time? An operator dial call to Cleveland? Or the ballet by means of coaxial cable? An important call to a transcontinental truck? To a ship putting out to sea? Or to a train racing across country? It has been the faith of people who have invested their savings in the present, as well as the desire of men and women everywhere to keep on furnishing more in the future, that makes this story a story without end.
I'll move swiftly on from that, apart from to say the narrative from that was from 1950, and I think it's as relevant today, that we're constantly finding different ways to discover the same basic things in life. And technology may make it seem different, but we're continuing. Things haven't changed since certain things have become more prominent, like mass duplication and access to archives, or lack of access. But basically, if we don't get access to things by there being, if there's going to be things controlled, then basically we don't have a creative future, because that's our palette for knowing where we're going to go next. So I'll move on to the next thing, which is, as Paul mentioned earlier, I'm the other creative archive artist from 2007. Yeah, I think so. So I also had access to a million things in the BBC, which was very interesting, given that you could spend your whole life looking through it. And so I had to narrow it down super fast before I went completely insane trying to search the archive. So I decided I was going to look for footage centering around the celebration. And so I've always been interested in world fairs and expos. And so once again, there's the same spirit where there's an optimistic feeling about the future. And I'm using the past to be optimistic about the future. So yeah, this is called Trying Things Out.
I like trying things out here because we've got a very lively public and you get good reactions between the young people and the exhibits. Yes, it's not the thing now, of course, to be versatile. You see, once you have a pattern of mind that can build mental models in your head of almost anything, it's really a very childish situation. There's nothing remarkable about it. After all, little children will sit in a corner, a little boy will, with some mud and pile it up. And he's building a Crusader castle. And it's a Crusader castle for him. Well, there's one in his head. And my head is full of those sort of images, absolutely realistic. They just come up like that. I haven't lost that, you see, through not being overtrained, perhaps. So it doesn't worry me at all, whatever the problem is. I can pick it up and play with it, just as a child might. When I see a problem, I like to be able to say, right, doesn't matter what it is. I'll have a go. Now, I'll just let them think it was done by so-and-so, or by a top engineer, or by a modeler, or somebody. I'll see if I can do it. It's that sort of game I'm playing all the time, I suppose, really.
So yeah, I'm going to play one last thing. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to play a very small excerpt of my live set tomorrow, because I realise we might have slightly different audiences here today. And my most recent work from the last year is I've been actually sourcing from major blockbuster films rather than documentary and educational films, just because I hadn't done it before. So if you come along tomorrow night, I'm doing a 45-minute AV set using all sampling of major films, sound and moving image. And so there's one part of my set which is in intact sound and moving image, whereas the rest of my set I'm adding the sound in real time. It will become obvious what it's from. One thing, I'm not mentioning the C word, but it will cost £200,000 to clear my live set. That's all I've got to say on the subject. Thanks. Oh, there's my live set. Go away. I won't be playing otherwise. Okay. Yep.
Thank you very much.
One last thing.
Yeah.
My work is all available for free download, peoplelikus.org and UbuWeb. Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much, Vicki.
All right.